Hey guys, SPOOFOMANIA here, and today I'm going to tell you guys my top 10 favorite movies of 2012. I thought this was actually a really good year for movies, even better than last year, which was a subpar year for movies, but there are a lot of movies this year that I really enjoyed, and here's my list. But just quick, before I tell you guys my list, I just want to say that I didn't see every movie in 2012, so just keep that in mind. So there might be some of your favorites that aren't on this list, and that's probably because I didn't see them. So just keep that in mind when I tell you my list. Alright, first of all, I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions, some movies that didn't quite make the top 10, but I still really enjoyed them, and they were really close to making the top 10. To be honest with you, all three of these movies were at one point number 10 on my list, and I kept switching it around. So all three of these movies are ones that I loved. Starting off with ParaNorman, which is, in my opinion, one of the best animated movies, if not the best animated movie of the year. Something I really loved about this movie is that the humor in this movie was the most adult humor I've ever heard in a kid's movie. There are a lot of jokes in this movie that I bet kids wouldn't understand, and it's mainly for the parents, which I really loved. And I just want to add, there's something that happens toward the end of this movie that was, in my opinion, one of the biggest surprises of the year. I just did not see this coming. It was hilarious, it was great, and you should definitely check out ParaNorman. Next on my list I have Les Miserables, which I saw on Christmas, and I really enjoyed this movie. My only problem with it was that it was slow at parts. But, you know, everything else was great. I thought the performances were great, the singing was great, and it was just a very enjoyable movie. And my last honorable mention was this close to being number 10 on my list, but that's Safety Not Guaranteed. I absolutely love this movie from start to finish. It's basically about this news reporter who investigates this guy who put an ad in the paper saying that he can time travel, and he's looking for a partner. It stars Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Recreation, and this movie really showed me that she has acting chops. And one of my favorite and probably most underrated actors in Hollywood right now, Mark Duplass, is in this movie, who's also a great director and singer, and he's great in this movie. And also this movie has a great original song called Big Machine. I already downloaded the song on iTunes. If you haven't heard that song, definitely check it out. But an amazing movie. It makes you even look at life in a different light a little bit, and you should definitely check that one out too. But here's my top 10 list. Alright, starting off with number 10 on my list, I have Lincoln. There's so many things you could say about Lincoln, but I'm just going to mention a couple. Two performances in this movie really stood out. One of them, of course, was Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. He did an amazing job, definitely deserves an Oscar nomination, in my opinion, a win. Definitely encompassed, you know, how Lincoln spoke and everything, and little mannerisms about him too. Also, Tommy Lee Jones is amazing in this movie, another guy who deserves an Oscar nomination. He's very witty and funny in this movie, and I think he had the biggest laughs, along with James Spader, but he has one line in this movie that really had me cracking up. And, you know, I think he adds a lot of humor to this movie, which is really great. And this movie really showed me something about Steven Spielberg, you know, 40 years into his career. It showed me that he doesn't have to do these big budget, you know, action movies. He could, you know, do a low-key movie. This movie only has one action sequence, and, you know, he can make it great, which showed me that he is, you know, really reaffirmed to me that he's one of the best directors of all time. And also, even though Steven Spielberg's direction was great, this movie wouldn't be half as good if it wasn't for Tony Kushner's script, which is amazing. And, you know, overall, Lincoln is just a really great movie. Alright, coming in at number 9 on my list is Moonrise Kingdom. Moonrise Kingdom was directed by Wes Anderson, who did an amazing job of this movie. Definitely had that Wes Anderson touch on this movie. And, you know, it really reaffirmed to me that Wes Anderson's a great director, especially after a slight misfire, in my opinion, with Life Aquatic, which wasn't a movie I was a fan of. But otherwise, all the performances in this movie were amazing. Bruce Willis, Frances McDormand, Edward Norton, a lot of great performances. Jason Schwartzman was great in this movie, had one of my favorite movie lines of the year as well. Also, the kids are great in this movie. You know, and actually, you know, kids in movies this year weren't that bad. I'm going to be mentioning a movie later where there was a kid in it, and he did an amazing job. So Moonrise Kingdom is a very original and funny movie. Coming in at number 8 on my list, I have Argo, directed by Ben Affleck, who is on a roll now. I mean, he's one of the better directors in Hollywood right now, with this, Gone Baby Gone into Town. And this is probably one of my favorite of his movies. I think I even like this more than Town, which I loved. A very intense movie. Another movie with great performances, especially from Alan Arkin and John Goodman. Both very funny in this movie. And I loved Argo because it was intense, it was serious, it was a drama, but it had these little areas of comedy mixed throughout the script, which was necessary for this movie. So Argo was another great one. Coming in at number 7 is The Avengers. I love The Avengers so much. I even gave it a 10 out of 10 in my review. After seeing it again, I probably wouldn't have given it a 10 out of 10. Maybe 9 or 9.5, but I still love this movie. Very fun to watch. Joss Whedon did a great job of this movie, and he also wrote it. and you could tell that this is a Joss Whedon movie because it has, you know, those little places with injected humor. And actually, I think this was one of the funniest movies of the year. You know, I was watching this in the movies, and I couldn't stop laughing at a lot of scenes. You know, he added, you could tell he's a fan of the Avengers and of Marvel, so it was great to have a fanboy, you know, directing this movie. And, you know, the Avengers was just a load of fun, and probably the most fun I've had at the movies all year. Coming at number 6, I have Skyfall, directed by Sam Mendes, and of course that's the 23rd, I think, Bond film. And this movie did not disappoint. It, you know, was definitely a huge step up from Quantum of Solace. I'm not sure if it's quite as good as Casino Royale. I think they're both, you know, on the same track as one another. But a great movie. This movie had one of my favorite action sequences of the year, which was the opening scene to this movie involving a train. It was very cool. Also, Javier Bardem plays one of the coolest bad guys I've maybe ever seen. Maybe even up there with Heath Ledger's Joker. Maybe that's saying too much, but he did a great job. Definitely deserves an Oscar nomination. And Daniel Craig, what a great Bond he is. I don't know if he's quite as good as Sean Connery yet, but man, he's getting there, and he is awesome in this movie too. Alright, so now we're getting into the top 5, and coming at number 5 is Cabin in the Woods. Another movie that was written by Joss Whedon, but this one's actually directed by Drew Goddard, who is probably one of the most promising directors of 2012. Cabin in the Woods was another really original movie. It starts off like your typical horror movie, and I won't say too much in case you haven't seen it, but it just goes in a completely different direction. It really, you know, something we've never really seen in a movie before, and it ends up kind of making fun of the horror genre. Because let's be honest, in the past couple of years, the horror genre has been pretty horrible. This was a movie I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did, knowing how I'm not a huge fan of horror movies. But I ended up really loving this movie. It was funny at some parts, and to be honest with you, the last, I'd say, 30 or 20 minutes of this movie are absolutely crazy. You know, things just get out of control. And it's just an awesome, energized movie. Coming in at number 4, I bet you guys knew this would make an appearance on my list, but The Dark Knight Rises. In my opinion, it's better than The Avengers, even though they're both great movies. But The Dark Knight Rises was just an epic conclusion to an epic trilogy, one of my favorite trilogies of all time. This movie was almost perfect in my opinion. There were a couple plot holes here and there, but, you know, great performances all around. Michael Caine gave it his all. I think Christian Bale, I think this is his best performance as Batman. Really cool action sequences in this movie. And Christopher Nolan did a great job in this movie. It's not quite as good as The Dark Knight, but that's one of the greatest movies in my opinion of all time. And The Dark Knight Rises was just a really awesome movie all around. So now we're getting into the top 3, and coming in at number 3 on my list is a movie that I think I liked a lot more than most people, and that's The Grey. You know, this movie just was intense throughout the whole thing. You know, you just always felt this presence of danger. Liam Neeson, playing Otway, plays this role so well and everything, even worthy of an Oscar nomination, even though he probably won't get one, definitely deserves one. Also, this movie was really surprising to me because Joe Carnahan did an amazing job with it. Joe Carnahan has always been a director I'm kind of iffy about. He's done some movies that I don't really love, but some I don't hate either, like The A-Team was fine. But this movie just showed me that what a great director he is, and, you know, some little subtleties in this movie, whether it's a bloody footprint in the snow or just the sound of wolves going through the leaves and trees. He just does a great job of this movie. Alright, so coming in at number 2, I have Looper. And Looper was just a movie I saw, and I was absolutely amazed by it. I love original movies. There are a couple of them on my list, but Looper is one of them. I felt it was one of the most original sci-fi movies in years, maybe even since The Matrix. I love this movie so much. You know, a lot of people have problems with it. You know, not a lot of people, but some people said that it slowed down and that there could have been more action, but I just love the pace of this movie. You know, there wasn't too much action, a lot of story and stuff, but I just love how they introduce you to this whole world with loopers and telekinesis and all these cool things. Rian Johnson is a great director. He also did Brick. He directed this movie. Did a great job with it. Also, Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives a great performance, as did Emily Blunt, as did Bruce Willis, who is actually having a great year, Bruce Willis, being in this and Moonrise Kingdom. Also, I mentioned before that this was a good year for child performances, and there was a great child performance in this movie. I don't know the actor's name, but he plays Emily Blunt's son, and he does an amazing job. Really terrifying in some scenes, and he also just is a really innocent kid. And a really great performance by him, too. Alright, so now we're at number 1, and my favorite movie of the year is Django Unchained. I'm glad I saw this movie before making my list because I absolutely loved it. You know, everything about it. You know, QT, Quentin Tarantino, did an amazing job with it. Had that Quentin Tarantino touch. One of my favorite ones of his movies. Very gory, very violent, but great performances too by pretty much everyone in the cast. You know, Jamie Foxx playing Django did a great job. I love the character development of him from this really quiet slave to this man who would do anything to get his wife back. And also Leonardo DiCaprio, love Oscar buzz around him, definitely deserves a nomination, maybe even a win. Did a great job in this movie, playing he played a really great villain, and also Samuel Jackson played a great villain, playing Leonardo DiCaprio's right-hand man, and also Christoph Waltz did a great job. Every performance in this movie, everything about this movie is amazing. It's perfect to me. I can't find really any flaw with it, maybe just minor things here and there, but it's great, and it's my favorite movie of the year. Alright guys, so that was my top 10 favorite movies of 2012. I hope you like my list. Tell me in the comments below if you agree with my list. Tell me your own list in the comments below. What movies are your favorites of the year? Alright guys, so I'll be back next year reviewing even more movies. Hopefully I'll be able to make more videos. You know, I hope you guys have a happy new year, and I'll see you next time. Alright, bye.